Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Jean-François Piot, and I will be your host. Please note that we cannot hear you as you are on mute, so if you have any questions during the presentation, please use the chat window. We will address any question during an open Q&A at the end, so I guess let's quickly introduce ourselves. Olivier?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you, Jeff. So my name is Olivier Renaud. I'm a technical sales manager at GSX, located in Boston, and I specialize in Office 365 productivity, but that includes also the mobility that we'll look at today.
Okay, thank you, Olivier. So as I already said, I'm Jean-François Piot, and I'm the product manager of GSX Solutions at our headquarters in Geneva. So let's present this short agenda for this webinar. So first, we will explain how GSX for AirWatch is able to prevent mobile issues for users, and then we will present 3 different use cases from one of our biggest AirWatch customers. And as always, we will have that 5-minute Q&A session at the end. So let's start by a few words on GSX for people that don't know us. Maybe you know us, but we have been developing agentless monitoring solutions for collaboration and mobile environments for more than 20 years. And we have offices all around the world providing support and customer success management for every time zone. So at GSX, our mission statement, so the next slide, is to provide out-of-the-box and agentless monitoring solution that enable the IT team to be proactive on incident resolution and focus on the end-user experience. And we will see in this webinar that our solution for AirWatch answers to those requirements. So what does GSX provide to ensure mobile end user satisfaction and AirWatch health monitoring? First, it is real-time monitoring of every critical component of the AirWatch server role. AirWatch servers are a collection of services running with very specific objectives and providing everything you need for the security and the management of your mobile user. So GSX remotely connects to each AirWatch server to monitor its critical components. Each role is particularly monitored with attention to specific system key performance, in addition to the most common and compulsory CPU, RAM, and disk usage. GSX also put an extensive focus on the IIS monitoring, as it is the core of the entire web platform. IIS monitoring takes care of the ASP.NET application running and worker process restarts. The application pool status is constantly checked by GSX Monitor, as well as the SSL certificate bound to the IIS port. We'll see that in the use case later and how it can be really beneficial for you. Each URL as well to every console is constantly tested to make sure that admins can really access the AirWatch critical features. But monitoring AirWatch server, as you might know, is not enough. A lot of what is at stake takes place in the AirWatch database using Microsoft SQL technology. So GSX has become an expert in SQL database monitoring, going much deeper than monitoring system counters. GSX remotely analyzes the health of the cache, the performance of the SQL queries, and also perform synthetic transactions. We also collect specific SQL statistics that matter to every AirWatch administrator. From a pure server and service perspective, GSX is providing you with every check, every statistic, and every configurable alert that you need to be proactive with your AirWatch environment, again, for all the server role and also for the SQL environment. However, even this level of precision is not enough to have the best solution to ensure your end user satisfaction. And this is why GSX for AirWatch also directly monitors the end user experience from any location you want through the GSX robot users. And we will again see that in the next use case. For those who are new to GSX and don't really know what the GSX robot user is, I will explain the concept with the next slide in 15 seconds. So a robot user, can we move to the next slide? A robot user is a piece of software that you install on any workstation or Windows virtual machine and that will use the service you want to test exactly as a user would. Doing that, it will measure the availability and the performance of this service. Today, we will test the ability of mobile user to use the messaging environment through your AirWatch server and ActiveSync service. The robot users are installed in multiple remote locations and then emulate a mobile device that opens mailbox, send email, proceed to free busy loops up, create meeting, etc. The robot user uses your entire mobile infrastructure, measure the time it takes for each action, and alert you in case of any failure or performance problem. As a result, you'll be aware of any potential issue before real users start to complain. On top of that, they perform network checks and retrieve critical information that will help you to understand the impact of the network on the end-user experience. So thanks to the robot user, GSX provides you with information about the end-user experience, delivered through AirWatch and collaboration infrastructure. So let's put all of that into context, and let's go in our use cases. So the situation we will see here happened to one of our biggest customers. And this is why part of the solution that we developed was designed with them to ease the detection and the troubleshooting of these problems. This customer is a large oil and gas company that has worked with GSX for many years and has expressed interest in our AirWatch project. Since they have multiple locations in many countries, it is really important for them to understand in real time if their employees can really access the company IT resources. Mobile devices are extremely important, especially in this kind of remote location where you have a lot of remote location. And besides voice communication, the access to the messaging system is the main usage of them. So this company is using Office 365 and AirWatch Server to manage and secure 15,000 devices. And regularly, remote users were opening tickets related to email synchronization or availability through their mobile device. So here, what we will see is 3 examples of issues that they had to face and that are now easily taken care of thanks to GSX Solutions. So the first use case, in this example, we will see that they had a big problem. The ticket was starting to be open, first location starting to complain, and soon other locations start to complain as well. So it seems that no mobile devices were able to receive any new email. So this situation quickly became a huge issue for them, and the support team started to verify that the impact user had no problem with their right to access to the messaging and mobile environment, but everything was fine. So after a few other checks, the AirWatch support team became involved and started to check the ActiveSync endpoint availability. And everything again was fine on that point. So they went through every AirWatch server and role and database to understand the health and what had gone wrong. The issue was finally identified on the SEC server. And even if the console looked fine, no mobile device was able to access the SEC server. So what was the root cause here? There were 2 separated issues that were detected. The first one impacted the web listener on the SEC server. After deeper troubleshooting, they understood that the IIS application pool went down, preventing the web listener from functioning. The second issue was related to the EAS integration service that also went down, preventing the connection between the SEC server and the database through the AirWatch API. Because of that, the policy could not be refreshed, also preventing mobile from getting their new email. So this case involved a lot of troubleshooting and problematic downtime for the end user. And maybe, Olivier, you can show us how our customer can now instantly detect this issue and detect the root cause thanks to GSX Solutions.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Jeff, for this context and use case. So what I'll do is show you the troubleshooting interface. So we have a real-time interface where you can access to the status of all the different components, servers and tests, as well as robot users that you would have deployed in your environment. So we have this real-time troubleshooting. We have alerting as well that goes with it. For the sake of those use cases, I will show you this web interface. So I have different views here. You can create different views for the different teams. We'll focus right now on this use case on the mobility view, where you can see each component, each brick in your environment that has an impact on this mobility service. So in this use case, as you mentioned, a lot of time was spent to find the root cause and troubleshoot. So you can see I have 3 red here. We'll see that through the 3 use cases that we have today. But the first one is any issue that would happen on any of the AirWatch servers that you host on premises that would be involved in deploying those policies to those ActiveSync devices or acting as endpoints in for the SEG, the secure email gateway of AirWatch, it's critical to monitor and see each component. So here, what the ability that you have with this troubleshoot interface is you can easily click and drill down into any issue that has happened in your environment. So here we immediately see that there is an impact on the AirWatch secure email gateway server. If you had multiple, you would see all of them as well. And you can immediately identify what is causing this issue. So anything that's red is going to be some availability issue. Here we immediately identify the IIS service and system service. So by service, we mean a brick that's allowing and providing that service to those different web requests and that web listener. So you can see we have multiple tests that are being performed from checking the Windows services of IIS, all the connections being performed to the IIS server, the IIS certificates, the performance-wise in terms of cache and number of requests. But here we immediately see that IIS apples have an issue. We're testing not only the status of each of those application pools, but looking at the actual websites and web endpoints to connect to them. So here we immediately see that some of those application pools are not running. So obviously there's going to be an issue with the web listener. Requests won't be accepted, resulting in mobile devices not able to connect. So that's the first thing. And besides checking really that application layer, we also perform a number of system checks going from CPU, port, RAM, disk space, but also obviously the Windows services. And they can be broken down based on the different components that are deployed on the server, if it's a multi-role or a mono-role server. So here we can see critical services for the secure email gateway are not running. And once you drill down, you can see that the EAS integration service is not running. So this down the road will cause the connectivity from the secure email gateway to the AirWatch API and to the database to be broken, resulting in those policies, as Jeff explained, not being refreshed to those devices. So really here, the key concept is to see that having a tool to monitor your environment is critical, but really you need to have visibility on each of the components. In this first use case, we can see each of the AirWatch servers and immediately identify the issue once there is an issue. The goal is to be aware as early as something starts to impact your environment, both in terms of performance and in terms of availability. And thanks to GSX, you can have this level of visibility and be alerted as soon as there's an issue, and to start immediately fixing the issue and not spend time troubleshooting, understanding all of the symptoms that have happened and what's the root cause of that issue.
Well, thank you, Olivier. So now let's see the second use case. So this use case involves the same company and the same kind of issue. And the only difference is that all the tickets opened only came from one specific location. So again, they went through troubleshooting, trying to find the root cause. And the first level of support team was involved, so again, checking what they could do in terms of user rights, and finally didn't find anything, and sending the issue to the mobility team. And so they had to check every server, every role and database of the AirWatch environment, and in this case, really everything was fine. So they checked the availability of the ActiveSync endpoints, and everything looked okay as well. Then they involved the messaging team, who checked that Office 365 portal for potential messaging issue and found nothing as well. So finally, after a really extensive research with the local network team, they found out that the ActiveSync endpoint was not reachable from that particular location because of new local firewall rules. So this example perfectly illustrates why the GSX robot users are so important. So maybe again, Olivier, can you show us how the customer can identify the issue and its root cause using the GSX robot user?
Of course, I'd love to. So here, and that's another one of those issues, you know, where the end users, they complain, you have an issue somewhere and your test is working and they say, no, it's working fine for me. And that's really the the key strength of our robot users of GSX is to provide you with visibility from a user perspective, from every locations that they connect to. And nowadays, most likely each of you have multiple offices, users connecting from different regions. They might connect to different headquarters or regional offices, and it's important to have visibility of each of those locations, because when they complain, it's hard for you to run those tests from those locations. So our robot users, as Jeff explained, they're going to be testing as an end user from those different locations, so that GSX robot user is able to simulate a user, connect to the different endpoints, so you can provide credentials to it, and provide you visibility in those locations. So for the mobility perspective, we're leveraging the ActiveSync protocol, and the GSX robot user will act as a mobile device. So you can see here already I have different locations here. I've chosen to have a view that gathers everything, but I can also focus on a different view that I call the by type, so by different types of tests that I'm running. And you can see here, ActiveSync, I have multiple robot users in different locations, but one of them is experiencing some issues. So here, we're focusing only on the ActiveSync protocol that I'm testing from those locations, and I can immediately see that it's working fine in some of my locations in Chicago and Los Angeles, but I have an issue right now in the New York office. And so, again, the same concept of drill down, I can easily see that, okay, I'm doing those different checks. I've seen that in the past hours it was working fine, but I start to have now an issue. I would have received an email of alert as well, but if you provide that kind of dashboard to your team or to your help desk, they can easily spot that issue. And here we can see that we could not connect from the New York offices because we could not resolve the endpoint. So that could have been a firewall issue, a DNS resolution problem, but you have here the metrics and the facts to go to your network team in this case, and explain that from the network office, New York office, sorry, they cannot connect to that endpoint. On top of that, so that's an availability issue that we've seen, but the critical piece of information here as well is that we're going to perform every action from a user perspective. So here, in the context of mobile devices, we're going to leverage the ActiveSync protocol not only to just connect to the endpoint, but also to perform the different actions. So things like creating a new mail, sending that email, creating a meeting from your phone, or doing some calendar lookups, even FreeBusy from your phone. Each of those actions, GSX is able to reproduce them from the different locations so that you have visibility on how long that takes. And we're going to also perform the underlying network checks to provide you visibility on how the network is impacting this performance or the availability in that case. So again, here we can see that immediately you can spot the root cause of the issue, what's the symptoms immediately pop up because we're testing as a user, and because we're testing the different bricks and components in your infrastructure, in your topology, we can identify where the issue is coming from. And again, so that you can focus on fixing the issue rather than spending time troubleshooting and understanding where this is coming from.
Yeah, but thank you again, Oliver, for your explanation. So let's move on to the last use case, which is a more general problem. So once again, it was the same company, again, with the same kind of issues, but this time, multiple tickets were open from multiple locations at the same time all around the world. And of course, the support desk was really on fire. So pretty soon, all the support level 3 were involved, trying to understand what was going on. ActiveSync endpoint was checked, and every AirWatch server was checked as well, and everything was fine. The messaging team checked Office 365, and it looked fine too. Nothing to worry about, apparently. But still, users all over the world were not able to receive any email anymore. So manual mail routing was done to confirm the issue, and it was possible to send mail out, but no inbound mail was received. So once again, the mobility team was involved, but had no visibility on the layer of infrastructure that are necessary to provide the mobility service to the end user. So what happened in that case? The company basically was under attack. So thousands of emails were processed by the Iron Port appliance that were then overloaded, blocking any new inbound mail. And it's another example where GSX would have warned the mobility team as soon as the root cause started. So they could have seen that it was not really a mobile problem, even if plenty of tickets were coming about mobile user. So it would have shown exactly where this issue was. So last time, Olivier, if you can show us again how you can instantly determine the root cause of this kind of issue, that would be great.
Of course. So so let's go back to the web interface, and so you might have already noticed that there was a third red LED. But the mail routing is really another of the key strengths, I believe, in our product, because it's very flexible and it allows you to test end-to-end the routing of emails. So, for example, typically what we will configure for most of our customers would be an internal mail routing to test the performance in between internal mailboxes. But always we make sure to deploy and to test every mail flow, every route that exists in your environment. So whether you're using the Exchange Online protection, you're using some appliances on-premises or in the cloud, there's a lot of different ways that one email can go through, whether it's going outbound, it's going inbound, whether it's sent from applications that you have developed on premises or that you're using in the cloud. So it's important that each of those mail paths, they're being tested. So that's the key strength of our mail routing. I have different ways, again, to look at that. So you can see here, I have different mail routing. I have the outbound, I have an internal mail routing, I have an inbound mail routing. But again, instead of waiting for end users to complain because they have not received an email, and they will complain fast because everybody is crazy on those emails, you know that. But you need to have visibility, and as early as there is something that breaks, you need to be aware of that so that you can fix it and prevent or limit the impact that this will have. All your end users starting to open support tickets, help desk starting to troubleshoot, then escalating to your team or to the messaging team. And so one other thing I wanted to mention is, although this is probably more from like a messaging and email deliveries perspective, it's still something that as a mobility team member, you want to be aware of, because end users will complain. If they don't receive their emails on their mobile devices, whatever it's coming from, they're going to complain to the team responsible for mobile devices. So here you can have visibility on this. You can also have visibility on different bricks in your email infrastructure. So whether you're on Office 365 like this company, or if you're on on-premises system like Exchange, you can have visibility on your servers, on the bricks in between, so like the message hygiene, anti-malware, anti-spam that you might be using, so any message filtering technology, as well as the mailboxes themselves. So here, we immediately spot that there's something wrong with the inbound mail routing. You can see the trend of that performance over time, so that also helps to see if you have any kind of delays, and you can spot any issues as they would come up. So here we can see immediately the inbound mail routing is failing. If you click, you can see that either we could not connect or it took too long to route that email. The other important thing to notice here, as Jeff explained, this company was using Iron Port servers, and this is also something that we provide visibility on in order to understand those different queues, those different Iron Ports that are managing the different messages, connections coming to them, and processing those in the work queues. So here, even the team responsible for Iron Port would have been able to easily and quickly spot that there was an issue on the mail queues. Some messages would not have been processed as early as they should have, and things like the oldest message in queue or the number of messages in the active queues would have triggered something immediately to alert that team that could have communicated appropriately to the mobility team as well. So really important. Again, you can see that really what we provide you visibility on is not only each of those bricks, but really the end-to-end. And to perform real end-to-end monitoring, you need a strong solution that is able to simulate each of those end users from the different locations and through the different technologies that they're using to connect to the services that you're responsible for and that you provide to them.
Yep, thank you, Olivier. So I think it's clear that the mobility team service rely on the AirWatch server health, but also on other layer of infrastructure that impact the mobile end user experience at the end. So the local IT, the local network, your security appliance, your proxy, your AirWatch server and services, your AirWatch database, your ActiveSync endpoint, and of course, Office 365 or Exchange server. All of that contribute to deliver the mobile service to your end user. And that is what GSX and its robot user are about. So they provide a complete view on everything that can impact your mobile and user experience. So we've seen that GSX is the only solution that can monitor your AirWatch server in depth. We checked every performance counter you need from both a system and an application perspective. We check all your URL availability, IIS pool, web listener, SQL database and services that allow connection with the AirWatch API. We've seen as well that GSX is the only solution that provides a measure of the end user experience directly from the location where your users are. The GSX robot user can really precisely tell you if a specific location has an issue or if all of them are impacted. So they can tell you if the network or ActiveSync is causing problem at the location level, and at the end if your users are happy or not. So GSX allows you to know before your user if issues are arising. That gives you time to work on them before tickets are opened. But even more important, GSX is the only solution that provides total visibility on everything that can impact your mobile service, from your AirWatch server to your security appliance to the local network of your locations, and finally to Office 365 and your Exchange server. So now it's time to take, I guess, your question, because there were several during that webinar. So, Oliver?
Yes. So yes, there has been a few questions. So the first one was, what do you monitor AirWatch console server? So I'll respond a bit more broadly. And so yes, for the on-premise AirWatch, we monitor each of the different roles. So they've changed a bit recently the naming, but basically the console server, the device service server, the Secure Mail Gateway or SEG, and the Mobile Application Gateway, the MAG, are the four roles that we monitor and that we provide visibility and support for. So on top of that, we'll also check the AirWatch SQL database to make sure that the data is available there. So yes, we're going to cover each of those different types of AirWatch deployments. Mm-hmm. And so I think I've seen a question on the cloud version or SaaS version of AirWatch. So it's true that today we've looked at the context of this company that had an on-prem deployment. However, even a cloud-based deployment, we're going to be able to provide you visibility. We're not going to check for a SaaS version of AirWatch inside of the SaaS application and check the different components there, because we don't have that kind of visibility, and anyway, those components, it's AirWatch that's responsible for and ensuring that they work fine. What you care about, though, is that service that is being delivered by that. So we'll be able, all the rest that we've seen today, so the ActiveSync connections, we'd be able to test all the end-to-end mail routing to ensure that whatever email that's going through your AirWatch, cloud-based or on-prem, is being delivered to those mobile devices. So you would have coverage in this way, and we can also do some endpoint checks to look at the URLs of those applications that you would be using from AirWatch Cloud.
Okay. Was there a question about I think I've seen a question about SQL, about like if we can prevent SQL issues impacting AirWatch for the on-prem environment?
Yes. So I briefly mentioned in the first question, but yes, so we'll actually do two things. So it's very important for AirWatch to have connectivity to the SQL backend, as Jeff, you explained in the beginning. So we'll be checking from this perspective. That actually allows us to also retrieve some usage metrics, such as the number of users, number of mobile devices, and you can trend that. So we're testing from the AirWatch perspective. If you need something more in-depth in terms of SQL monitoring, we have a dedicated SQL server monitoring that will be looking more at like the SQL performance itself, the different databases, all the KPIs about the performance and health of your SQL server. the things like all the requests, the cache, if there's any deadlocks, unoptimized queries. So you'll be able to have visibility on that. And even if you're not usually we discuss with teams that are responsible for those applications, like the mobility, the messaging. But so even if it's not your responsibility, it does impact directly that service you're responsible for. So that's why we provide that level of visibility for SQL as well.
Okay. Okay, so I guess it's time. So if we did not get the chance to answer all your questions, please be assured that we will get back to you in the near future. So thank you for your time again, and keep in mind you can always try our solution for free. Just contact us and ask us for a trial, and our technical team will assist you in its deployment. So an evaluation of this webinar is about to show up in your browser, so please take a moment to provide us with your feedback. And again, thank you again, and have a great day, and thank you, Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.